This is Rock and Roll Grad School with your hosts, Heidi Hedquist and Luke Poling. All their favorite songs are slow and sad.
Hello, kitties. We're going to have a good time together because we are going to Los Angeles. Or do we have to say it like Los Angeles? Like that? Would that help?
New World.
Exactly. We are talking with John Doe, he of X, but also solo musician and author and
actor,
and
all around like
poet.
Super cool human being.
Right. And like we said after the interview, it was a little intimidating at first.
It was, but he made us feel comfortable.
I'm trying to remember now if I am putting this on him or not. Was he eating an apple by cutting off slices with a knife?
No, but he was eating an apple, and he did make it look cool.
Yeah, however he did it was very, very cool looking.
Yeah, he's way cooler than us. We don't know why he talked to us, because he's way cooler than us.
By far, by a lot. Yeah, I'm going to have to see if I can go see them. Unfortunately, they're here next week, and I've got to shoot, so perhaps the Psychedelic Furs X tour this summer.
I know. I kind of want to go to both, like his solo one and the next one.
It's a fun record.
It is.
If the 1890s and people starving to death is fun.
Well, it's thought-provoking.
It is, yes. But it's got some good upbeat...
It's definitely got some good hooks going.
Jams. Yeah, summer Jam of the Summer, I think, is definitely on that album.
Yes,
somewhere.
Agreed.
That's important.
They said the Almighty would strike me down if I didn't toe the line. They say the Almighty will keep me safe if I keep his word with mine. But I'll be damned to hell if I take too much, because the Almighty is always just, alone and forsaken.
I feel like one of those questions that always comes up is, well, tell me about the people who played on the record and stuff like that. But you listen to this album, and I feel like the room and the atmosphere is such a part of these songs and the mood in it. Where did you record this?
We recorded it at Jim Eno, the drummer of Spoon, his studio called Public Hi-Fi here in Austin. And we recorded it the same way that it was created. With Kevin Smith, Conrad Chacroon, and I sitting in a circle, maybe 10 feet away from each other. No headphones and just a bunch of mics scattered all over the place. Skillfully placed.
Yes.
Willy-nilly.
Scattered.
Yes.
Yes.
And we, my compadre, Dave Way, who I've worked with on probably 10 records, he helped produce it along with Steve Berlin from Los Lobos. And Dave has worked a lot in Sony Atmos, which is a new kind of surround sound platform, where you can, if you have a fancy studio, you can put 9 to 12 speakers around you, and within the tracks you can designate a percentage of each track to those speakers. So you actually feel like you're sitting in the middle of something, and I guess they have something that does that in headphones as well.
The kind of binaural sense thing, yeah.
But it's for real. It's not just your kind of jive quadro sound or whatever that was 25, 30 years ago. So yeah, we just we allowed ourselves to cut between takes because Conrad has great time. But you couldn't overdub a bad vocal note or a bad bass note because it was all the instruments were acoustic and they were all bleeding into the other microphones.
Sure. Wow.
I hope we're not getting too technical, like
No.
straight off the bat here.
Nope,
No,
not
this
at
is
all.
perfect. We're fans of the deep end.
Yes, we do like it. And our fans are fans of the deep end. So
You know what?
dive away.
That would be a great byline for your. We're fans we're fans of the deep end.
That's brilliant.
Huh?
We got to write that one down.
Yes.
Yeah, no, that's perfect.
That's amazing.
Do you enjoy that kind of challenge of recording where we all got to get this right? Are you trying to get that perfect take, or are you trying to get the mood of the room and what you evoke in that moment, in that interplay between the three of you?
A bit of both, but there's nothing perfect about this record. And a long time ago, I started thinking of records as a record of what happened. Mm-hmm. So if you, much more of a big picture person, like in everything, but certainly in music, started relying on intuition and just getting the message across, telling a good story and trying to get it as right as possible. But there's bad notes in this record.
I think bad notes add to it a little bit too, right?
Well, yeah.
That adds to the...
Didn't Thelonious Monk say there's no wrong notes? It just depends on what you play after it.
Exactly. Exactly. Precisely. Well, and that intuition as an incredible musician, I think so many people, no matter how successful or how talented they are, it takes them a long time to trust it. Yes. When did you know that your gut was right?
Oh, it's an ongoing process, but I think maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 records ago, the first record I did with Yup Rock, which was Fables, Forever Hasn't Happened Yet. Mm-hmm. That was when I felt like Dave, Way, and I found, the kind of sound that was true to me. And I was seduced, like a lot of people, with, indie rock and making weird chord formations so that it made your head tilt a little bit. And I still do that, but I'm just not quite as seduced by that indie rock sound. And I've embraced the Americana, the kind of honesty. And I do embrace that, like you said, the challenge of making it good, like standing on the floor and doing live vocals and things. Doesn't mean that it's not terrifying. Doesn't mean that, but I kind of I do like that challenge of like, okay, we've got a bunch of songs, we're going to go in the studio and we're going to do this. I've done it a little bit where you do things a piece at a time, and it's just not as rewarding. Yeah. But I allow for everyone to do whatever, not that anybody needs permission, but I think that you can make good records, records that move you, that are important, a million different ways, sending them through the mail, or, people recording individually and things like that. You can still make a good record.
For sure. But I don't know. There's something about that all being together.
Yeah.
I love it. You just feel the energy vibing back and forth. A little better than through the mail.
Yeah. I mean, that was one of the reasons that I would get some fancy guest singers on my other records. It's like, who the hell doesn't want to hang out with Debbie Harry for an afternoon?
Right.
So true.
And she said yes. I made the offer and she said, sure. Yeah.
But there's something about those records. I mean, like, I think of it reminded me a little bit of, all the recent Tom Waits records, but Mule Variations in particular, where you can hear the sounds that are going on outside. And this album has that room vibe where it's, like you said, you're in the room, it's this recording of a moment, and it just sort of adds an intimacy to the listener where you feel like you're almost eavesdropping in on this conversation between the three of you with each other. And especially, and I know in the notes you were saying it's sort of it's connected to the pandemic and just the time and place in which these songs were written and recorded, but it just sort of has an intimacy that I think, does not show up on albums when you are sending the tracks back and forth.
I take that as a high compliment, and we made a concerted effort to keep the space to maybe a different or deeper understanding of less is more. Mm-hmm. We embraced that as we were, arranging it, and if there was a certain figure that moving from one chord to another, I would say, Kevin, why don't you take that? I'll take the next one, or so that we weren't just doubling up on everything, because they're fairly simple walk-ups or little figures to do it. And I'd say it was influenced by, I didn't do a academic research into what is or isn't folk music. It's just our version of folk music. I've had enough experience that I feel qualified to say, yeah, I know who Cisco Houston is, and I've listened to plenty of Richie Havens and, things like that. So it's good to see that there's young people that are doing it too. There's a couple of people I'm real fans of. Sunny War is one of them, and she has this guitar technique kind of like Elizabeth Cotten, and but it was also influenced by Bob Dylan's record, John Wesley Harding, because that's really simple, and it sort of takes you into this odd land that's you can't really put a time on it. So
yeah. Well, and I mean, there's that Louis Armstrong quote that all music is folk music, because all music is made by folks.
Yes, for the folks.
For the folks. Yes.
Yeah.
In the process of, I can't even count what number album this is for you, between your solo records, your work with X, does it get easier? Does it ever get less scary of that light comes on and you're going, oh my God, I hope this sounds right. What the hell am I doing?
Well, yeah, everybody has imposter syndrome, but you just try to push it to the side while you're doing it. And I think the key is to find people and a place where you're not aware of the light being on, of the, on air or recording now. You have to, that's part of the battle, or maybe part of being a professional or a seasoned journeyman, is you keep that under control. You keep it or not, or you just, I don't know, you don't keep it under control. It's not like you tamp it down. You just sort of push it to the side. You just kind of, because in songwriting or recording, the more open you are, the more that stuff can come through you, get in there, and then come out, the better it's going to be. The more it might relate to somebody. I don't know.
Well, I think, that makes perfect sense. And that sort of vulnerability, I guess, you have to be so vulnerable as a creative artist, as a musician, as a performer, recording, whatever, all the different. But so often, I think so many of us sort of, we save all of our vulnerability for that moment and don't necessarily translate it to the rest of our lives. Is it something you take with you, or do you leave that in the studio with the red light behind you?
I can't remember who it was, but I was reading some statement where it was a visual artist from years and years ago, saying that working on the art is one thing, but just working on yourself, being an artist, is really the work that you're doing. And that's that same thing of being open and being, letting stuff come through you. But I mean, people can do that even as a persona, whether it's,
True.
David Bowie or Jeffrey Lee Pierce from the Gun Club. They kind of invented themselves as these things.
Right.
I'm not that smart or devious or whatever it is.
Maybe.
And also, this is really off the subject of music, but as as you get older, I think it's doubly important to open up rather than to close down. We've all seen our friends or family where they end up living in a single room, and that's sad. Sometimes it's physical, but maybe the physicality followed something that was spiritual or mental, and I'm not like a devout spiritualist or something, or someone who devotes their life to spirituality, but I've definitely become more spiritual. That showed up in this record,
for sure.
And if you're expanding, you're not contracting, and contracting seems like as you get older, it seems like a bummer. And
total
expanding,
bummer.
yeah, but it's hard. I mean, like, things are scary. I think a lot of people are fed up with another fucking learning curve on their phone. You're going to get a new computer. It's like, oh, Jesus Christ, really? I got to do all that again?
So true.
No, but that's why all those, millionaires get to go into work at Silicon Valley, because they got to change shit and they got to update it and they got to they got to give themselves a reason to go into work.
Yep.
Look what I did. I made this whole new platform that you got to learn. It's like, oh, fuck.
I know. Change the questions as soon as we learn the answers.
Yeah.
Is that a reason you did this record and these songs so stripped down? As like I want to streamline this process and communication?
Maybe it just appeals to me. I kind of had enough of playing with guitar players who played too much, or orchestrating many different things. And it just seemed to, like I said, the record was created on Kevin Smith's back porch or his patio. And so that's all we had. And we didn't want to do more. We didn't have any amps or PA or anything. So we just did that and had to listen to each other. And it all sounds very, kumbaya and bullshit like that. But it was kind of like, that's what we had, so that's what we did, and
sure.
And tried to keep it, try to maintain some sort of edge to it, by the lyrics or the subject matter or the playing and stuff, isn't soft.
Yeah, and I was, as you were saying that, I was thinking about the fact that the structure and the body of the songs and the lyrics, that it isn't necessarily a layback,
No.
put our feet up in Isn't Life Wonderful?
Right.
It goes places and it says stuff. I mean, that's always sort of been a hallmark of your work and what you're trying to do. Have you seen that kind of conversation change throughout the years? Or maybe how has it changed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has, in that, X's records are pretty simple as well. If you think about other more conceptualized records, this is something of a concept record, but it's not. I tried to keep it from being pretentious. But what's the same is mostly the same is that most of the characters that are in X's songs are in a moment of crisis or in a moment of change. Whether they had to leave Los Angeles or Johnny Hit and Run Pauline or Devil Doll or Motel Room in My Bed, or even the more kind of obtuse ones like Under the Big Black Sun, you still get this idea of a character who's very sad, who's having a hard time. And I just sort of arbitrarily picked 1890 because I did stay away from any modern references, but it's because that era is so elemental. It's not simpler. It's just like the bear can get you.
Right.
A real bear.
And will,
right.
Yeah.
And you can starve if you don't, if your crops fail or things like that. So.
Well, and to that point, so much of your music through X, on your own, through all of it, all these things we're talking about, and these moments of crisis and these characters, the more things change, the more things do stay the same. And maybe it's a bear, you know, an actual bear in 1890, right. And maybe it's another bear now, or maybe it's the same bear, because real bear, you know, who knows? But
less fur.
But they're timeless and all of that. And I think that's interesting too, as I experience, you know, my nieces and nephews growing up and becoming music fans and experiencing your music from then and now, and sort of it all feels so relevant still and so impactful to them no matter what. And are you seeing that with fans as new generations are coming forward? And
yeah, I mean, there's I think there's a lot of punk rock influence nowadays in new music.
Yeah.
I'd give that organization Girls Rock Camp a lot of credit for that. You know, how long ago did that start? 20 years ago or maybe more.
Yeah.
And all those young girls that were 8 and 10, they were just doing it for the, you know, for a few, it really stuck. And now they're 30 or in their mid 20s and they're fucking rocking out.
Yeah. Tearing it up.
Yeah. Can't think what I was. Oh, well, once the record was done, I sent it to my family, or, you know, mostly done. And one of my daughters said, God, there's so much loneliness and isolation in this. It's just like what we've been going through. And I'm such an idiot. I'm so inside of the thing. I had to have her say that to realize, oh, huh.
What do you know?
What do you know? I'm relevant without even thinking about it. But that was a good observation, a nice, a great coincidence that I felt, oh, well, people might be able to relate to this because of that.
For sure.
Yeah.
Have you... Sorry, go ahead.
No, go.
I was going to say, have you played these live with some of your other songs? Do they all play nicely together, or are they...
Yeah. Well, I choose the... You know, that's the other thing. Before there were all just new songs, we just played songs, you know, and we tried some X songs, and, you know, I can pull off a handful of X songs just with an acoustic guitar. Mm-hmm. A lot of them, sometimes people will request, and I think they're insane because it would sound terrible. And I've even tried it, you know, but things like The Hungry Wolf or Los Angeles, or, you know, it's like, no, it's just going to ruin the song. But yeah, we'd do some cover songs and other solo stuff, and it does, yeah, it all holds together.
That's excellent.
And where are you guys? Remind me.
I'm in Detroit.
And I'm outside of Philadelphia.
Well, I am playing in Philadelphia.
So I have heard.
And I think I'm playing in Ann Arbor.
Okay, Ann Arbor works.
Yeah, at the Arc, right?
Yeah, I love the Arc. Yes, I will be there for sure. The Arc's a great
coming up in June.
Oh, and I think, we'll be there.
I think you're at the City Winery, I believe.
In Philly, yeah.
In Philly, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's fantastic.
Indeed.
Oh, we'll be there. And we won't ask you to play things that don't translate. Well, we might ask you to.
We still might, yeah.
We still might.
Well, you know, when you have a bunch of songs, you can kind of filter through, you know, pick through them and
yes,
find ones that work.
You know, we always want songs about Detroit, so we'll be.
Oh well, I'd play the New World.
Perfect. I figured that one would translate.
Yeah, and X is going to be in Detroit with the Psychedelic Furs.
Nice. Oh, very nice.
That's
we played some shows with them a few years ago, and it really worked. And so now we're doing a big, like 6-week tour with them.
Perfect. Oh, I get to double win. I love it.
Yeah, they made a great record, the Psych Furs, in 2020. Yeah.
I don't think I've heard it. I'm embarrassed to say I haven't heard it.
Well, it was during pandemic, so there wasn't as much, coverage.
I gotta go dig that out.
It's called Made of Rain. It's so good.
Oh,
so good.
Check that out.
Do you like the kind of back and forth of doing the trio stuff and then doing the X stuff, or do you prefer to keep the church and state separate?
I don't have a choice.
Yeah, well, true.
I'll have a few days off, and I just kind of, redirect your attention, and but X is exciting. Run around, jump around on stage a little bit, and but we give it our all, so it never gets phoned in. It may be it's a little schizophrenic at times. I was writing some of these songs the same time that we were writing the X record in 2019, so that was a little like
yeah. Did you ever, obviously so different, but did you ever feel like, oh wait, I would have liked to have done this a little bit more for this one? Did you ever have to pick between your children?
No, they were very, very different. Very different.
Sure.
And for the X record, I relied on a lot of Exine's lyrics to write those songs. Maybe the next X record, I'll use more of my own. But we ended up writing a lot of those together, the X band, where I would have some chords for a certain part of a song, and if it didn't work, then Billy might say, well, do we need all of those chords? Maybe we can just use 2 of them instead of 4 or 5.
Right.
And that was different for us. Another kind of opening up.
Yeah, it goes right
deal.
Back to that.
But it's I feel like there is a certain amount, you have a certain amount of creativity, and you can just focus it towards one thing or another, and I've just recently said no to things because I couldn't refocus on stuff.
Are you still doing any acting, or are you done with that?
A little bit. Yeah, I actually did a movie back in 2019. It's a remake of the 1949 movie DOA. That Edmund O'Brien was the lead in. And we did it in a period down in St. Augustine, Florida. There's lots of Spanish moss and Gothic scariness, and I got to be the guy. I got to be the dude, and we're trying to we're sending it to film festivals and trying to find a distributor and all that crap. They're doing a sound mix of it pretty soon. And, yeah, looks good. Looks good. I didn't suck. I'm a bad judge of my acting stuff, but it was really exciting to do it.
That's awesome.
And that's such a different way to express yourself in some form. I mean, in other ways,
way more internal.
Yeah,
and you the reward, you don't have to have the audience clap for you. You just kind of know it. Whether you were in the scene and it all was happening and it felt real or not. If the director says good job, that's a bonus, but you kind of know.
So many people rushing by.
Fables in a Foreign Land, the new album by John Doe, is available right now wherever you get your music. For more information, check out his website, thejohndoe.com. He is also on Twitter, where he is at John Doe from X, and on Facebook, where he is at The John Doe.
You can check us out on all the various socials. Be sure to visit our website at rockandrollgradschool.com, and don't forget to leave us a review.
Today's show is produced by myself and Heidi Hedquist. Our reluctant producers are John Sauvé and Sandy Stone. Our willing producers are Rachel Allen and Randy Jeanette. Our intern is Zach Jackson. This one's for Philippe. Thank you, good night, and may all your favorite bands stay together.
To the darkening of light, oh, the memory of that night, I'm never coming back. With a mask upon your face,